Thank you all for coming out to our commission meeting on this evening. At this time, we will have invocation by Pastor Craig Carter, pastor of Lynn Haven United Methodist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. God, your word teaches us that it is a good thing to give you our thanks and our praise, and that every good gift comes from you. And so, Lord, we just pause tonight to say thank you for your many and abundant blessings. We thank you for this place called Lynn Haven and for the privilege that you give us to live here and to call it home. And Lord, I pray for Mayor Nelson. I pray for all the city commissioners. I pray for all the citizens that are here tonight, that whatever is deliberated, whatever is decided, that it would all be in accordance with your will and would serve your purposes. And so, God, we just entrust this time into your care and do so with glad and thankful hearts. And this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Carter. This time we will have our public commentary. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. I just wanted to talk about the library. Mayor Nelson and I had actually met on Monday, and this is one of the topics that we discussed. I just want to, and I talked to Ms. Gaynor before the meeting too, I just want to make sure that the library is a beautiful space, functional, but that it's attractive and it's something that'll be a good community center for all the residents. It's something I have used in the past. I used the old library and I'll definitely use it again. Mayor Nelson and I had talked about maybe getting murals, donated, or low-cost murals if it has to be paid for. Perhaps the Lynn Haven Garden Club could look at plants. If this is in the CRA, maybe the CRA would be interested in beautification of this building. Mr. Aldridge is interested in beautification in the city, and maybe he can be involved in that process, or the beautification board could be drawn into that. So again, I just wanted to basically just highlight the fact that the library is just so important for a community. It's a place where people can meet. It's important for knowledge. It's important for the children. So Mayor Nelson had told me that we're actually going to have another meeting on this before finalization of all the plans. And so we had talked about having another workshop beforehand. And it's probably going to be something like it was last time before a meeting. And you'd also mentioned that you're going to have an open house kind of situation, and so maybe people can bring it up then. But if anybody's interested in the library, I encourage them to reach out to any of you, and maybe that's something that can happen. Also, I wanted to bring up, too, something that happened at Table Talk, something that was brought up. There's a lot of people talking about all the gas stations going in, since we're talking about beautification of the city. All the gas stations, the way that 77 looks, the way that 390 looks. Amanda Richard had discussed that if it's something the commission wants to do, that you can do an overlay, I believe it's called, and that would kind of restrict the buildings that can go in those areas, or at least they have to have a certain look about them. So I really wish the commission would consider something like that, having an overlay, and perhaps Mrs. Gaynor could even discuss that. But it's something to think about, like I said, just to keep the community attractive, and maybe we don't need 6 gas stations on these different roads. So nothing against gas stations. I want to be able to go get gas or milk if I want something, but just to have a variety of different businesses and, for the residents. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary? Okay. Mr. Hines.
Yes, my name is George Hines, 1603 Rhode Island Avenue, Lynn Haven, Florida. I'm here to talk about the Black History Program. You do an outstanding job of attempting to equalize things in America by having the Black History for 28 days. Black History is 365 days for me and a lot of people in America, but we're not treated that way. Lynn Haven is not a racist city, but you do have racists in Lynn Haven. They are not only in law enforcement, they're in the fire department, they're in every facet of the city. Now, when it come last week, a citizen talking about the 3 minutes to speak, you get 3 minutes everywhere in the state of Florida to speak at every occasion. The only thing I can come to conclusion is because a black mayor and a black city manager give them 3 minutes to speak and enforce the rules. The same thing was when John Lynch was here, when Mayor Gardner was here, when Margaret Anderson was here, but nobody got irate about it. So when they get irate about it because we have black leadership, I get offended by it. And I'm here to voice that opinion because this is America. And I fought 21 and a half years in the military for them to have the attitudes that they have and for me to have the attitude that I have because this is a free country. When you come into an occasion such as this and you're going to speak to the few Caucasian people you know because they're not white, this paper is white, so nobody in here is white. And I'm not black. I'm African American. I'm American from African descendants. All right? So don't call me Buddy, because Buddy's the dog where I come from. I'm sir if you don't know my name, just like I call you sir when I meet you. A ma'am. That's it. I want equal respect because I give respect. That's all I want to voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary? Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, my name is Janet Thompson. I'm kind of new to Lynn Haven, been here a couple of years. I live over in Minnesota. First off, I want to tell you how grateful myself and a whole bunch of other people are. We love our Alcansal Dog Park. We call it Bark Park. And we're so grateful for the way that it's been being developed. Many of us are professionals, and we don't usually get there before 5:30. 6 o'clock. And so in the winter, especially in the winter, but even in the summer hours, once it gets dark, it's a fairly lengthy dog park. The entrance gate and the area by the entrance gate are in pitch black. So the two big problems are we can't see our dogs, that's one. But the bigger problem is that when we leave the picnic table area to walk to the gate, we're walking in the pitch black. And unless we use our phones as flashlights, you know, dogs, they dig little gullies. They're not holes, they're gullies, but it's enough that several people have jarred their backs because you just don't see it. It twists your ankle. The other thing is that we know that parking has been an issue while the people are in the arena next door, the baseball field. And here and there, people have disagreed about dog behavior and such. And thank you for making, I think there was an announcement or something made where they need to park in a different area, but they're not doing it. And so it'd be great if we could just put up a sign or something along the fence that says dog park, parking only. And the third, what was the other one? Oh yeah, I knew I was gonna forget it. I've got friends here with me, and we're going to the dog park next. You provided Adirondack chairs for us, and the colors are very pretty, but they break. And I personally was sitting in one when it broke. And they're plastic, and we were just hoping, we love the picnic tables, we make use of them. There's probably about 20 to 25 regulars. At night, we linger into the dark talking, we've all become friends, and it's very cool. It'd be great if we had just a few more Adirondack chairs or a couple more picnic tables. We would surely make use of them. But all in all, thank you. It's getting better and better over there, and we're just so pleased. We appreciate you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary? Yes, ma'am.
Christy McElroy, Port St. Joe. Speaking of dogs, I just got 3 new puppies. They're 3 months old, so that's been keeping me busy. It's a great way to also lose weight. I wanted to just share with you, I won't really put a lot of comment into this. I did a public records request to Commissioner Tender and to Vicki Gaynor after your Friday morning pre-meeting for this meeting. Because, and I'm just going to read what I asked for, and I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm requesting the emails that were mentioned at Friday's morning meeting concerning the Employee Grievance Council that Commissioner Tender discussed. It sounded like the exchange between the two of you occurred recently. So Commissioner Tender, I guess, had put forth some information concerning wanting to, revisit the Grievance Council. I know that I've attended a lot of meetings where that has come up. I think it would be a good idea under the circumstances. And I'm just going to read you the first paragraph. This is from Vicki Gaynor to Commissioner Tender. Commissioner Tender, I wish above all things that you would sit down with me and Jennifer and go over personnel concerns. These cases are under litigation and cannot be discussed in public, but I think you know that. Do you know that Marie Maddox, the attorney in Tallahassee, takes on any and every case from every Bay County municipality, whether they have a case or not? She knows she will not win, but she takes their money and leaves them high and dry. Do you know that her office is the office where every municipal employee tramples to if they are terminated or doesn't like the city? I can tell you that a grievance committee will not help employees who don't show up for work, that put the city in harm's way, that are incompetent, and who are constantly insubordinate. Would you want people like this running your business? I was surprised. I'm just surprised. And I'm going to give you all a copy of this and probably go ahead and split.
Additional public commentary?
Jerry Parker, Rhett Place. I want to address what Mr. Hines said. First of all, he's wrong. Race has nothing to do with my objection to commentary. Not only is it wrong, it's insulting to my core. To my core. My whole thing on the commentary is that it was moved from 3 to 7. We've discussed this. You know where my stance is. It still stands to that day. And the question still has not been answered. How does moving it from 7 to 3 improve decorum? How does it improve it? I would like somebody to answer that for me. Thank you.
Additional public commentary? All right, if not, thank you for your public commentary. This time we will have Mayor's report, read our proclamation. We would ask that the North Bay Haven Girls weightlifting team, if they would come forward, please. You can just come. Yeah. Yeah, just face that way. Yeah. All right. Proclamation, whereas the North Bay Haven Girls Weightlifting Buccaneers won their first district championship at Bay High School on Tuesday, January the 18th, 2022. And whereas the Buccaneers took the 1A District 2 title with a final score of 69, beating out Bay, Bozeman, Rutherford, Chipley, Vernon, and Holmes County. And whereas the Buccaneers grew from 2 pupils participating in 2018 after Hurricane Michael to 36 pupils participating currently. And whereas the Buccaneers participated in the snatch, clean, and jerk and bench categories. And whereas the Buccaneers had 15 girls to qualify to participate in the regionals in Suwannee, and from there 11 girls qualified to participate at the state championships in mid-February, where 2 girls placed in the top 6 and 5 girls placed in the top 10. And whereas the Lynn Haven community would like to thank and congratulate the entire North Bay Haven girls weightlifting Buccaneers team and their coaches, Aaron Pale and Audrey Peden. And whereas we are so proud of how hard the Buccaneers have worked this season representing North Bay Haven School in our community, and we look forward to another great year. Now, therefore, by the virtue and authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lynn Haven, on behalf of the City Commission and all the citizens of Lynn Haven, I do hereby recognize the North Bay Haven Girls Weightlifting Buccaneers by proclamation. A witness whereof I do hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Lynn Haven to be affixed this 22nd day of February 2022. Congratulations. Next, we have a proclamation for the Lynn Haven Raiders cheer team. Is there anyone here to receive this proclamation? All right. Proclamation. Whereas the Lynn Haven Raiders are paving the way for cheerleading as a competitive recreational sport in Lynn Haven, and whereas the Lynn Haven Raiders represent the city of Lynn Haven at the state championships in Daytona in January 2022, and whereas all 4 of the Lynn Haven Raiders squads, ages 4 to 12, took home first place at the 2022 state championships in their divisions, and whereas the Lynn Haven Raiders 12U seniors and 10U reach teams earned a bid to compete at Quest Nationals at Disney World the second week of March 2022, and whereas the community is proud to support the youth in our area and are honored to have the Lynn Haven Raiders represent us across the state, and whereas the Lynn Haven Raiders coach, Heather Vickers, said she was not surprised by the wins because of the hard work they have put in, saying, "We train to win in Lynn Haven and have fun doing it. Go Raiders." And whereas the community would like to thank and congratulate the entire team of the Lynn Haven Raiders and their coach, Heather Vickers. And whereas we are so proud of how hard the Lynn Haven Raiders have worked this season while representing our community, and we look forward to another great year ahead. Now, therefore, by the virtue and authority invested in me as mayor of the city of Lynn Haven, on behalf of the city commission and all citizens of Lynn Haven, I do hereby recognize the Lynn Haven Raiders by proclamation, and witness whereof I do by here set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Lynn Haven to be affixed this 22nd day of February 2022. Congratulations. Thank you. In regards to the mayor's report regarding community engagement, there were several opportunities I had to go throughout the community to some of the various events that we hosted here. I attempted to go to the walk that was in Sharon Sheffield, but it ended a little early because of the cold weather. And so when I got there, they had already departed. But I believe it was a great turnout, and a lot of things were taken up in honor of the young girl that passed, so that we could give those things to the animal shelter. So just encourage you to make, donations to the animal shelter on her behalf, in her honor. Also had a chance to go and eat a good breakfast at the Lynn Haven Rotary Club, and also hear a great update from our city manager. I get updates from her all the time, but it was good to hear some more good updates from her, and she made a presentation on behalf of our city to the Rotary Club, and so I'm just very thankful for that. Also did have a chance to meet with some various citizens and residents throughout our community. Great conversations with them, and hope that we can continue to communicate. I believe some of the best forms of communication are sitting down face to face. Emails and text messages don't always really convey the expressions that we're trying to make. Sometimes we can read those misappropriately and put tension there that may not be there. So I think it's very good when we can sit down and have dialogue with one another. Did get a chance over the past few weeks to follow up with our CRA chairman, Mr. Joe Brown, also with our Charter Review Board Committee Chairman, Mr. George Hines, to just get an update on how those committees and boards are coming along. And so looking forward to receiving the suggested updates from the Charter Review Committee. Also had a chance to talk with Joe Brown about the Rails to Trails, and suggested that maybe we put some historical markers on there as people are walking down the Rails to Trails to see the history of Lynn Haven. I know we've talked about doing that on Florida Avenue, but I don't think Florida Avenue is vast enough in order to really allow us to convey the history of Lynn Haven. And so I believe he said that suggestion was received very well by the CRA, and so look forward to seeing how that's implemented in our Rails to Trails project. And so there will be a town hall coming up in March, coordinating with our city manager to make sure we don't have any conflicts in dates with us having various boards and committee meetings, and also looking forward to our spring concert series coming back. And so making sure that we don't want to have any conflicts with that. But as Ms. Jody Moore mentioned, the town hall will be a chance for you to come out and discuss any particular issues that you might have, as well as if the library is one of those issues. And so again, just had a good couple of weeks, looking forward to what this next month brings us. We have a lot of things to discuss today. Also had a chance to go to the Capitol. I shared some of that with you all on Friday, and so it was good to see how our state capitol operated, especially during session. As a kid, I had a chance to go during my senior year of high school to be a page at the Alabama State House of Representatives, and so that was a great experience. And so this experience was similar to that. I had a chance to speak with various representatives discussing particular issues that pertain to the city of Lynn Haven and issues broader than that. Got a chance to see the Senate session and see how that operated. Chance to wave at Mr. Senator George Gaynor. Was not available until I was actually leaving to come back for an evening meeting, and so wasn't able to spend time with him. Missed Representative Trumbull. He was in committee meetings, and man, their committee meetings started like 7 a.m. for some of them, so I didn't get up that early to go and to try to catch him before a committee meeting. But hopefully I'll have an opportunity to go back to the Capitol prior to session ending on March the 11th, and we'll discuss a few more things, of course, later on in the agenda pertaining to what I picked up from the Florida League of Cities regarding some issues that would be pertaining to our local municipalities here, particularly Lynn Haven, and so we'll discuss that later on in the agenda. And so that is my report. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Mayor. Don't have much. Just want to thank the citizens for coming out. It's important to have citizen input into these meetings. Also want to thank our city staff. They're doing an awesome job. I'm proud of every one of them, moving this city forward after the devastation we've all been through for 3 years. And I want to thank our first responders, our police officers and our firemen. Everybody's doing an awesome job, and just want to thank all of you, and that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Perno.
You stole all my thunder. That's all I wanted to say to you. Thank you to our citizens, our city staff and employees, our department heads, and our first responders. Thank you.
Do you just want to ditto what they said?
Yeah, ditto. I don't have too much. I had my time with the commissioner this past Saturday at Tacos Way. Had 6 people show up, and we actually got on some good conversations. Got some inputs from the citizens, and I really enjoyed that. My next one's on the 19th of March at 11 at Slim Chickens. Of course, it's welcome to anybody to come. I enjoy talking to citizens, getting feedback. I know at the last meeting I read my letter about, I guess they call it home rule, where a lot of things are ran at the state level and kind of limits what we can do in the municipality. And I'm still working on the letter to send to the governor. I'm hoping to have it out by the end of this week. I heard back from Brian Cloudis, but still waiting on Jay Trumbull, which I know he's still in session, so he's probably got bigger fish to fry, I'm sure. After that gets done, maybe I'll send a follow-up email, but I'm still waiting on Griffiths to hear feedback. And that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Tender?
Thank you, Mayor. In the past couple weeks, I've dealt with residents. I've heard from many residents concerning Dr. El Bibi's property, which we'll be talking about later, and had a number of them come by and just view their feelings on the situation. I've got a couple calls into Bobby about lights being out over there by Bailey Bridge on that Mara Cashel or whatever that street is right down there, and he's taking care of that, I believe. I've talked to a couple of residents regarding the dog park, and I was very happy to see Mrs. Thompson come out and voice her opinion here. And I think the city managers took care of this today. The lady with the trailer needs an extension on her due to her home not being done yet. Also, I had a lady stop by today, and I believe I gave her Chris Lightfoot's name and number regarding flooding behind on Albritton Road, Albritton between the homes. And I feel like, Chris, that we dealt with that at some point. But anyway, she'll be calling you if she didn't call you today. I also had a very, very educational conversation with a couple of librarians, and I hope that we can make arrangements to have them come to that next workshop for the library workshop, the last one, because they had some amazing thoughts on what you do and don't want to do, and they had a few definite don'ts. And I was kind of surprised because I hadn't thought about this myself, but how we talked about having rollers on our bookshelves so they could be moved out of the way in case we wanted to use the library for a function. They said they will sag in no time at all because books are so heavy. So they said to just kind of reconsider that. But I'm hoping that they'll show up for our workshop because I think they could give us an awful lot of insight to the library. And that's basically all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to note in public in my mayor's report in response to public commentary regarding overlay, we did discuss that among the commission, actually, in having various districts that we would identify specifically with aesthetics and architecture. So that's something that is actually under discussion that we're waiting on our planning and development to bring back to us some different ideas. Also, Mr. Ben Janke gave us some different ideas of different cities we can look at. So that is something that we are looking at. I know that Commissioner Aldridge is sort of helping lead the way on the 77 corridor, but we're looking at possibly different areas along 390, CRA, and actually beyond the CRA to how can we identify those as particular districts or particular architectural districts in our city. So it is something that we are considering, and just we know staff is working on that for us, and we'll have that discussion when staff brings that back. Regarding moving agenda item up to number 3, certainly we know everyone is not satisfied with that. However, in attending previous city commission meetings prior to becoming mayor, I would hear people come up and say that no one is responding to their questions, that they are asking questions after the reports are given and no one is responding to their questions. And so by moving it up to agenda item number 3, it allows us here in our reports to try to respond to those various questions or concerns that citizens have if we have the answer. And so everyone may not be, of course, satisfied with that, but as leaders, we know we can't satisfy everyone 100%, but we have to do the best we can to try to help everything move forward in a positive way. So at this time, City Manager, do you have a report?
Thank you. So Table Talk last week went very well. I had Amanda Richard to come and do our development planning. gave some really good information there about how they work inside the department. So that went very, very well. You may notice that a lot of our public work, they're doing some sidewalk work, both FEMA and city, and we're getting a lot of those done. Our fire department is almost 90% complete, and so we're pretty excited about that. March 1st, we'll do a celebration of the police department's first accreditation, which is pretty awesome for this city. We'll be traveling down tomorrow to be with PD, and then there are many thanks to Mike Williams and Brian Blaylock, Chief Ramey. It's just a great occasion that we're going to be recognizing them. We are also in the works of trying to really rebuild and remodel all of the city buildings here. Today, we actually had a bid. I think this is like the second or third bid we have for Public Works. There's always come in over what we can afford. We were pretty pleased with some of those today, and we're hoping once the engineer certifies those that we can come back and bring it before the commission. We hope to, our goal is to have the entire city rebuilt by 2023 or even at the end of 2022. Not sure that'll happen, but we definitely are working really hard. I can tell you we did meet with the officials that are working with the City Hall, and they were only 4 days behind the entire construction, so that's pretty good right now. Spring Ball, we have our opening day, March 5th, and we have some fantastic registration numbers. We're pretty excited about all of the registration numbers that are there. We will surely take care of making sure we have a little bit more light out in the park. And so it is a balance because you have houses around. And when you put the light out, then the people that you have the lights out, the houses that are around saying, the light is shining in my house. And so we're going to try to find a balance there to try to make sure that we can meet the needs of both our dog park people and the people who live around. So thank you very much, Ms. Thompson, for that. And then we are in the process of getting some signs that say dog park parking only. Those are already, I think, 2 weeks ago, Ty and I talked about getting some signs because we know, here's the great thing, our parks are used a lot. They are used by every team that you can imagine, and so we're trying to accommodate everyone, but at the same time preserve our parks and make sure that they're kept in pretty good working order. So really, we'll take care of a lot of those things that Ms. Thompson talked about. Remember, there is a workshop March 10th here at the Senior Center at 5 p.m., and that will again be on Marina Island. And lastly, I would agree with the mayor that a lot of times when you are speaking in emails, that's not the tone that actually when someone's reading that. People know the Commissioner and I have several emails that go backwards and forth. That is no disrespect. It's just the truth of things that are happening within the city. And if you'll look at the additional in that email, there were 1, 2, 3 outline of things that she asked me for to make sure that she had that information going forward. So as you all know, I'm a pretty straightforward person, but I am very kind and I try to make sure that I do the right thing. But like I said before, emails can surely someone reading it in a fashion that it could have been read in a very different tone. So I wanted to just say, I respect all of the commissioners that are here. I work with them very much all the time. We don't always agree, but you know what? We have a lot of work to do, and I will tell you this, we have a lot of public workers requests. And so thank you, and we know that our city is on the move. Thank you for everyone that participated in the Black History month. It's been a great month for us. This city is moving forward. We are rebuilding our city. It has taken us a long time to get here. It's not easy. It's not easy on our staff as they continue to do their work, and also keep an eye on all the rebuild and all the other projects that are going on. But you will see at the end that the city, the time that we waited for the city to be rebuilt, you will enjoy every single moment of it. So that is my report, and I'll ask Kiki if she'll come forward and give us an update, and then I can. It's on.
Yeah.
You had a question.
I just wanted to ask the mayor if I
Yes.
could add one little thing. I don't know if,
Kiki, would you come back, please?
oh, no, you're
Oh.
not for finance.
Okay.
It's something I forgot out of my report. I had the lady on the corner of Virginia and 6th, if Chris Lightfoot is still here. She's concerned because they refinished the street. It's absolutely gorgeous. They came back and fixed the manholes. She has 2 orange cones in her yard, and they are sitting on some kind of metal draining. Yeah, and she's real concerned about what they plan on doing about that. So
Yeah, he gave us a thumbs up, so he'll
thank you
take care
very
of it.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney? All right. Consent agenda, minutes from 2/8/22, regular meeting minutes. Approval to extend occupation of an RV at 305 Montana Avenue through the end of September 2022 while improving their home via Rebuild, Florida. And also approval to appoint Mr. Jerry Whitworth to the Board of Adjustment. Any of these items you would like to remove from the consent agenda?
No.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved by Commissioner Tender, seconded by Commissioner Perno. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Moving on to old business. At this time, we'll be having a public hearing. Public hearing begins at 6:07 p.m. for the final reading of ordinance number 1127, application for future land use map amendment, Albibi parcel numbers 08922-060-000 and 0899925-010-000, industrial to low density residential. City Manager, you could read this by title only, please.
Sure. We can get to it. This is ordinance number 1127, and it is an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes of a land use change from industrial to low-density residential for an approximate 15.5 plus or minus acres of property located on Sally Mae Drive in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
City Attorney, any input on this before we hear from the Planning Director?
I mean, other than, like we talked about Friday, land use change is a policy decision of the city. So I mean, there's no magic to it. It's not a quasi-judicial hearing like you would have in a rezoning. This is more the broader land use map decision of the city. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is an application for a small-scale future land use map amendment. The owner is Riyadh and Rashda Al-Bibi. Applicant the same as above. The agent is Sean McNeil from McNeil Carroll Engineering. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. I didn't see him earlier, but he might have come in since I looked. Parcel numbers 08922-060-000 and 08925-010-000. The location is Sally Mae Drive. The parcel size 15.52 approximate acres. The current future land use map category on this property is industrial. The requested future land use category is low-density residential, which allows for up to 4.99 units per acre. The adjacent future land use map designations are to the north, industrial, to the south, low-density residential, to the east, low-density residential, and to the west, industrial and conservation. This is an aerial map which shows you the location of the two parcels, and what's being asked for here are portions of these two parcels because it's not including the conservation areas on the parcels. So this is the land which is outlined in red. What you see above here, this is the fuel depot property here. This is the current land use, industrial. This black and white stripe shows the industrial land use. This color here, this kind of beige crisscross, is low density residential. Up here on the fuel depot, you have industrial, and then you have mixed use, commercial, mixed use. The green areas are the conservation areas, which will not be included in the land use map amendment because you cannot change the land use on conservation. This shows, again, the parcels that we're talking about, this area in here. You had said in prior workshops that you wanted more of an idea of where this was situated. So I included this so that you can see this is industrial currently. What they want to do is change this so it's the same as this here. This is the property area. This is the area that they're going to be asking to change. These are wetlands, and so these will not be impacted, and these are the conservation areas which will not be impacted. If you do decide to allow the land use map amendment, then the land use map, the proposed map, will show this area as no longer being industrial with a black and white stripe. It will be the same as the low density residential that surrounds it on these sides. And this was the project site area, which is not really something, as I've said before, that we should be taking into consideration. With land use map amendments, you should look at like the most extreme use that could be allowed within that proposed land use. In this case, it is up to 4.99 units per acre. And I put this in because it was subject to a public records request. And as I've said before, I didn't want the public to have something that you didn't see. And this is the chart, which is from the ULDC, which shows you what is allowable under the various land uses. And under low density residential, I'm going to go through here. You can have either a group home, you can have single family residential, you could have a daycare, essential utilities, a school, a library, a middle school, and again, schools or a church. So the only things you could have as far as residential goes is low density residential, 4.99 units per acre, or you could have a library or a school. It's not big enough for a school, but that's what the code says. And also one more thing. This item went before the Planning Commission on February the 1st, 2022, at which time the Planning Commission recommended unanimous approval. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. No, this has been an agenda item we've discussed pretty intensely in our pre-commission meetings, even in our last commission meeting. Today, prior to the meeting, I did receive a phone call from Ms. Carol Roberts of the Bay County Chamber of Commerce and said that she had heard from the various businesses in the industrial park who expressed to her that they were adamantly against us allowing this land use change. And I think you've also talked with some of the business owners as well, and I communicated that to her, that you had also went out and talked with some of them as well, that they are against some of those changes. I think some of them are here and they'll speak momentarily during our time of commentary on this item. Any discussion or questions for Amanda about this?
I had a question on the one map where it had all those colored lines.
this one?
You kind of see it here. You see where it's purple and red? What's the difference between those two?
Yeah, that was where I'd pointed this out. So this is mixed use. This is on the fuel depot property.
Right.
Marina Island. This is Marina Island, and actually some of this as well. This is mixed use. This is commercial. This is mixed use. This is industrial, and that's public institutional. That blue bit is what belongs to Florida State.
Okay.
All right. Any additional questions for Amanda?
I don't have any questions, but
Yeah, it's open for discussion.
we're
Yes.
open for discussion. The map even makes it more obvious to me. Like I said earlier, I have spoke with some of the owners of the industrial property, and particularly not just them, but the neighbors, the people who own property on this side of that little dooflicky there, whatever you want to call it, that now look out at trees and birds and things of that nature. The people that I've spoke to that have industry there are kind of concerned that, you know, when they put on second and third shifts, if they should do that. I talked to Mr. Polo in particular, and they're talking about putting on a second shift. I just don't see how building or allowing building homes there, that's one thing. I hate to see us take away industrial property. We don't have that much in Lynn Haven. And if we want to grow, we know we have a good tax base, as the number guy here can relate to and tell you all about. We get a lot more from taxes from industry, you know, than we do from homes. And I think, and I am not, I want to say that up front, I'm not opposed to the fuel depot project. But I also think doing this, if we pass this, we are opening ourselves wide open to have to pass it for the people that own that fuel depot property up in the far left corner. And I just think we'd be setting a precedent. We can't say yes for one and say no for another. So I just feel like we need to remain consistent, and I think the property as industrial will be much more profitable to us. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things, Commissioner Aldridge asked about this at pre-commission meeting regarding what type of industrial use could actually be there. And so I did follow up with city manager, and hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to Becca Harding and see if there is some type of interest in that size lot that could be used for, what type of industrial use could we actually bring or attract to this area with that particular lot and the size that's afforded to that particular business. So that is something that we are looking into and hopefully get a response about as well.
Well, something else we see on that is if you look at the map, like Amanda said, it's completely surrounded on all sides by homes. So let's say that another big manufacturer does want to come in. Well, then everybody that's going to be looking out their back porch at a manufacturing plant is not going to be very happy with us. I mean, we're going to pack out this room with people saying, I don't want to look at a metal building on my back porch, And if we're doing like we said we were supposed to do, which is not judge what's going in there necessarily, but what is the surrounding areas. Like I learned from Miss Amanda on the planning board when I was there, she drilled it into us. It's only what's around, does it fit or does it stick out, And that's something that we all have to think about in ourselves. The way I kind of look at it, the property's also been vacant since 1911. It's conjecture that an industry is going to move in there anytime soon. That's just guessing, hopefully, that one day it will. Whereas on the other hand, we have a developer who actually is willing to put something in there. So these are all things, every point is a good point, but I think we have to chew on all of these subject matters.
I think one thing as we see all the development that's going on in Bay County, and as those developments go on, there's less and less land available. And so, in my opinion, I think in the future, this will become more and more, I don't want to say valuable, but more and more apt to develop on the land as land becomes less and less available. But one of the other points that I wanted to point out was my big thing, as I talked about on Friday, is what's the economic impact with the industrial areas in there. And let's say we do move this to residential, and then let's say one of the other ones next door decides they're no longer going to be able to open their doors anymore, and someone wants to put residential in there, it turns into residential, and then you will never ever get that industry back again. You'll never get that business back again. And I've talked about this even when I was running for election, that you get a whole lot more net revenue when it comes to industrial manufacturing business than any business, especially residential, because residential, it's the opposite. Yeah, there's a lot of things to think about here. But I also did a lot of research and reading a whole bunch of newspaper articles on the history of this. And it's funny because back in the first industry that was in there was Merrick, which was actually called Stock Exchange Company at the time. And when they put that in there, they were like, oh, it's about 180 acres of marshland in there. It's unsuitable to develop. And now you look at it, and there's 4 industries in there now. And we're kind of having a similar conversation where we're like, well, is it developable? And I think if there's certain, maybe there's some certain grants or certain options available for them, I think it could be possibly developable. And not only that, there was a couple articles, I think there was 3 or 4 articles of different businesses that weren't looking for a big, huge chunk of land, that were industrial manufacturing, and they would bring in about 30 jobs, and I don't know whatever happened to them. I just saw them in the paper, in one of the newspaper articles. Looked like everything was going to go through, and it never did. So I think there is opportunity for maybe not the big ones like we have here, but maybe a smaller one. And I had some more, but I'm sure I'll think about it in a minute.
Well, certainly, one of the things is that if we don't feel like we're prepared to vote on this tonight, we can table it and, for a vote at a later time, if there needs to be more discussion and dialogue and deliberation on this.
Mayor, if I may, I've talked to the residents, and I've had a lot of thought over this. And I mean, if we were to vote tonight, I'm not real sure in my conscience I'm ready to vote. So yeah. I would make a motion that we table this and try to get possibly more. I'd like to hear from the Chamber of Commerce, as you said you had. Carol Roberts called you today. I know Miss Harden's been out of the country, so I'd like to hear from her. I mean, I think before we make a firm decision, I think there's more meat on the bone to discuss this over the fact that it's a policy decision. That we're either going to save this land for what it was intended for, that was the vision of the U. Nelson Park 40 years ago, or we're going to start piecing it off into residents. So that would be if I could make a motion, I would motion that we table this until we possibly can. I hate to use the word workshop or whatever, but I would like to. I think it would pertain to have an all sides, all hands type meeting about it before we voted on it for a final time. So that would be my motion.
Okay, so there's a motion to table this item until we can have a workshop to discuss it. Are we okay with that, City Attorney?
Yeah, I mean, you can table it to a specific time. If it's not specific, then the only downside is we'd have to re-advertise the public hearing.
Okay.
I'm not paying for it, but he.
All right, so there's a motion to table this item until we can have a workshop on it and further deliberation. Is there a second?
Do we, or, oh.
No speaking that. We're going to do that in a moment. Just waiting on to carry out this motion.
I'm going to second your motion because I feel like we need to look into a few other things. I think we should look into getting some industry and put a real effort into bringing some industry into this. And yeah, I'd rather be sure than just
think we put it off to a later date. We would get more industry here that speak on their behalf, you know. We would get more concerned citizens and residents. I know there's people prepared to speak on it tonight, but, you know.
And I'd love to hear from those people.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would still love to hear from them.
Yes, they're going to speak once you finish the motion. So yes, they're going to speak
Right.
at this time. So there's a motion to table this item until we can further discuss it in a workshop. There's a second. At this time, is there public discussion?
Hey, good evening. My name is Sean McNeil with McNeil Carroll Engineering, 475 Harrison Avenue, Panama City, Florida. Did y'all take a vote on that motion? You did not? You have
No,
not
we're
taken a motion.
with no
Okay.
public
Well, thank you
discussion.
for that. I have a couple of questions. One, the owner of the property is here, Dr. Albibi, and as well as his son, Sam Albibi, are represented. They've owned the property for a couple of decades. The property's best use for their purposes or for single-family residential. There's no one really knocking down their door to bring industry into that property. It's a very difficult property with industry because it's not a real, efficient piece of property for what I would suggest industrial. I do have a question about your process. If you have if you're in the final reading tonight, and so you have a final reading, does the process with a workshop, does that require another couple readings thereafter, after a workshop, or is this a pending final reading that will be continued?
Right, it would just require one more public hearing. I mean, so it wouldn't start the whole process all over again. You would have to have another, you've basically continued this final hearing, or this public hearing, to a later date. So it would just be read one more time. We'd go back and do another public hearing, but just one.
Okay, so the final reading would just be pending upon after a workshop, if that's the
correct
consideration of the commission. And I thank you. I appreciate all your comments. Obviously, you're in between industry and single-family residential. So what's the best? As you said, if you're peering out the side of the single-family residential area, you're going to think, well, I probably don't want more industry. If you're in industrial business, you probably don't want single families encroaching upon your business, and it's a little bit of a friction for these particular land uses. That said, the owner of the property does have their own rights, and certainly we're at your discretion and at your disposal for the vote. But I believe that this property is best served for this particular use, and we're not making any. We're presenting what we're trying to do. We're trying to put 18, 19 single-family home sites in that property. So if you have any questions for myself or Dr. Albibi or Sam Albibi, we'd be happy to entertain them.
All right. Any questions for Mr. McNeil?
This isn't a question, more of a comment, but to allude to what you're saying with the property and where it is. I own a manufacturing business myself, and things that you have to keep in mind is the 18-wheelers, whether they can get in and out of that lot, whether they can turn around, back up to docks. If there is residential real close, you're going to have big trucks with air brakes and everything else going off during the night or any other time. And like in my situation, for example, I have a 20,000 square foot facility, and we've got machines in there to where when they go off, it shakes the city block. I mean, it's just boom, boom, shakes the whole city block. So we're going to have this real near to homes, residential. Imagine the emails that we're going to be getting when someone's up all night because all they heard was boom and their whole table's shaking every other second. So again, I'm just putting food for thought. I'm in industry, I'm in manufacturing, I understand it very, very well, and it concerns me being that close to residential. It just does, but that's just my take.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Dr. Albibi?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've owned this property for 30 years. I've been in Bay County for 39 years in practice. Anyhow, so over the years, I really want to do something with this property. I have not had any single industry interested in this property. The other thing is, this property has a lot of wetland, and it has Gulf Power easement on it. And Gulf Power will not allow you to do anything with that. they have a contract with me that they can use it for 100 years. So that property has a lot of limitation, and as you see on that map, there's plenty of houses all around the property. So I really think this property is not even useful for industry. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember to state your name and address for the record, please.
Cliff Myers, 1002 Arthur Avenue. If you back that up to the original overview, the property that I own is next to it, which is the Sally Mae property. This would impact me severely. We bought this from the school, and I appreciate the Lynn Haven standing up before holding the line on the zoning that was in place. And I took a huge risk to buy that. Went to Virginia, solicited Maximus Federal before it was General Dynamics. There's 2,000, up to 2,000 employees that go there. It would be a huge impact. We're surrounded by industrial, and I just would appreciate anytime you speak for what coulda, shoulda, woulda, might have happened. The truth is it was put that way for a reason. And to hold the line with the investment that I have, this would be a huge impact. Also, with the regard to they've owned it for a long time and nobody's investigated, we actually made an attempt to buy Dr. Al-Bibi because they wanted to expand and have additional parking because they were going to put on a third shift. Times have changed a little bit. That may come back. But, it's not, once you make this decision, you change that area forever, then that residential moves closer to me in my back door. And it'll be a huge impact. So thank you. By the way, for the very first time, I was shocked. I think 2 Fridays ago, I don't know which one of you it was, doesn't matter, but one of y'all called me just to find out information, doing your job. I just have to tell you thank you. You are trying.
All right. Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Walker.
Good evening, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Yes, you can hear me. We can't hear anybody else. I have a question. Isn't there an easement on that property also? Beside the conservatory area?
We haven't looked at the title work on it, but it looks like a 100-foot Gulf Power right-of-way that runs all the way
Gulf Power.
Diagonal to it,
Okay.
if I'm
All right.
guessing.
All right. My concerns, we had a meeting, a very good meeting with Commissioner Warnick over there. And the consensus of that meeting between individuals that didn't agree was this. You have a decision to make. You want residential or you want commercial? That's it. You don't have to kick this down the road. That's your question. Do you want commercial or do you want residential? We spend $20,000 a year to Bay County for EDA support to get businesses to come in here. They can't come in here. There's not enough room there. That's number one. We spend salary to an EDA director to get businesses in here. The EDA director is right now transponding and sending vibrations that he wants residential there. That's not his job. His job is to bring in employees. Sally Mae on 3 shifts. Can you imagine how many people are there? That's employees. They've been doing it for years. Business brings in employees. Employees need residences. They pay taxes. The business pays taxes, except for the ones that you give a write-off on. Those you do. But we catch up with that later on. What you're looking at is money. What's good for this city? Is it businesses with a lot of people, with a lot of revenue coming in, a lot of new homes coming in, which we're doing? Or do you want just residents to come in? Taxes will be a little lower. The question is this. You don't have to kick this down the road. You want residential or do you want businesses? That's your question. You need to answer it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Additional commentary? Yes, sir.
I'm Harvey Hollingsworth with the Natural Light. I'm at 1020 Arthur Drive, the building you see up there on your right on the curve. And we moved here, that building, over 30 years ago, started a factory here. It's been a very good move for us. We moved in there. It was going to be an industrial park. We knew it. That's why we selected it. We don't want to see that changed. They say that's already surrounded by houses, but it's surrounded on two sides by houses, and two sides it's industry. So the closer the houses get to industry, the less industry you're going to have. I also serve on the EDA board, and recently we were able to get the FedEx terminal out here expanded at the IDC building. The reason I mention that is that there's very little industrial property available in Bay County. So whatever we have, we should retain. That's our feeling on it. But anyway, I just want to express our opinion, and I do appreciate all of your service, the mayor and the commissioners. It's really good to see good people serving the community. I thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. Additional discussion?
Mayor, I had a question of something I didn't understand.
Yes, sir.
Gulf Power right-of-way that goes through there, how does that have an effect on all of it? I mean, let's say a manufacturing facility wanted to go in there. How's that going to play a role on it? Or if it's homes that are going in there, how's it going to play a role on development? Do they have to avoid the right-of-way, or?
Right, and like I said, I have not looked at the title work, but it looks like a 100-foot Gulf Power right-of-way. I know with a residential development, they would obviously not be able to put houses on there. They will often allow a road crossing or two, and that's it, and they would just take an easement back over it.
That's what I'm.
You know, for a manufacturing facility, I mean, they're not going to allow anybody to build on that right of way other than maybe a road crossing, and that's about it. They wouldn't put stormwater on there or buildings on there.
Okay, so it's not just wetlands and conservation areas. Now it's also
that's
right of ways.
That's what he said was there's it on there.
Okay. So even if you could build a building onto the side of the right of way, you would also have to look at your parking and all that good stuff and avoid that big cut right through the middle, basically, if I'm understanding right.
If what he's saying is true and there's a 100-foot Gulf Power right of way, you certainly
Okay.
that would be an obstacle.
I didn't understand. I want to make sure I fully understood it. Thank you.
Additional commentary? Yes.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make this statement as well. Stormwater, that's right in the craw of everything, it seems like. I'd be interested to find out how that would be affected if we put that many homes in that area, as far as stormwater runoff and, all those logistics, and who's going to pay for all that?
And I guess right now, technically, we can't think of homes going in. However, that is something that I can speak with city manager about, that we can follow up with Chris Lightfoot on and maybe give us a projection of what that could look like. But of course, our decision is not supposed to be made barring on whether or not homes will go in or not go in. But that is something that we can look into.
Yeah, I mean, that would come at the development order stage. Even if they used it with the existing industrial land use and they come in there and put a building, you're still going to be looking at the same, doing a stormwater analysis on that. So like the mayor said, that this would not be the stage to really analyze that, because they could put an apartment complex in there and you're still going to have to look at the development order and look at stormwater then. So
I'm going to ask a question, and there's probably no answer to this, but that map that the city manager shared with us, because you had it, of the potential complex.
Oh, yeah.
You know this one. Obviously, somebody filed that. Somebody brought that here. So that is obviously, they didn't just give it to you
Right.
for you to hold on to.
What happened is that was actually a public records request. And so she wanted us to be aware of what was actually requested by the public, so that if the public came up and said, hey, this is what they're going to do, that we wouldn't be in the blind about it. However, we're not supposed to make our decisions based on the potential of what that could be, because we could vote yes to change it, or when we come back to vote and say yes to change it, and then it's something totally different. He could.
Yeah, oh, no, I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that. I guess my question is, why did we even have this? Somebody gave it to us.
It was submitted in the packet by the applicant, I think, to show that they weren't going to impact wetlands, etc. But really, they should not have put any potential development in the packet. Yeah. At this stage, we're not supposed to. They shouldn't have put it in, but they did.
That answers my question,
they
though,
put
where
it
it
in,
came
so then
from.
it's public
Yeah.
record. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, another thing to keep in mind is Merrick and, what's ACMT now, it used to be called Bendix. Both of them, when they first started, they were a lot smaller, and they expanded. And so you never know, some of these industries may be expanding where they might need some land. So that's another thing to think about.
All right, so there's a motion to table this until we have a workshop and bring it back for vote at a later time. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
What do you have?
We did ask for public discussion earlier, and no one came up. So, but you can come.
The reason I didn't come up earlier because you kept changing the motion, and
the motion is still the same. There's no change. Hold on.
Okay.
There's no change to the motion.
Incorrect. Okay.
The motion is to table this item until we have a workshop on it, and then we open up for public discussion. At which time we haven't talked about the motion. We just allowed everyone to come up for public discussion.
May I go ahead with what I was going to ask and say?
Yes, I was correcting your misstatement.
Okay. Which I agreed to immediately. But could we move back to one of those other maps? That one. Now, so in this red area that you're talking about, if that's a power corridor going through, well, where's the little one with the red around the area? There, that. Yeah, well, there, that one. So I'm thinking back when the fuel depot wanted to move outside their gates and build more commercial properties in a low-density residential area, and that was denied. And so now with a public electrical corridor going through the middle of that land, I could be wrong on this also, but I believe that having such a large electrical corridor going by through residential area is not healthy for the residents, and not many people really want to live right by a public electrical corridor. That's what I was just wondering about. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Additional public commentary? Okay. City Manager, if you call the vote, please.
Commissioner Perna?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
No.
Commissioner Ward?
No.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Public hearing closes at 6:44 p.m. Agenda item number 12, public hearing beginning at 6:44 p.m. Final reading of ordinance number 1128, application for future land use map amendment, Market Shops of Lynn Haven, parcel number 11667-280-004, mixed use to commercial. City Manager, would read this by title only, please.
Ordinance number 1128, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida statutes of a land use change from mixed use to commercial for an approximate 3.04 acres plus minus of property located at Hammock Square Drive in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Planning
you.
Director.
This is application for a small-scale future land use map amendment, Ordinance 1128, final reading, public hearing. The owner is Market Shops of Lynn Haven, LLC, applicant the same. Agent is William Thompson, Panhandle Engineering. The parcel number is 11667-280-004. The location is Hammock Square Drive. The parcel size is approximately 3 acres. The existing future land use map category is mixed use. The future land use category that's being requested is commercial. The adjacent future land use map designations are to the north, mixed use, south, mixed use, east, mixed use, west, mixed use. This is the parcel here that you can see on the aerial. This is the parcel that Aldi is going on to. This is Innovations, this is the barbecue, and this is Dunkin' Donuts. So this is the parcel here in question. This is how the future land use map looks right now. So you can see all of these parcels are mixed use, and they are requesting to change this parcel to commercial. So the surrounding parcels will be mixed use and that parcel will be commercial. The item went before the Planning Commission on February the 1st, 2022, at which time the Planning Commission recommended unanimous approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Planning Director? Any discussion among the commission?
Move to approve.
Second. All right, there's been a motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Ward. Discussion from the public? Yes, sir.
Again, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I took a look at that also, and first of all, I don't have any objection to this. It's just that this looks like a paper exercise. Because if you look it up on the property appraiser's record, and in the newspaper, when you put it there, you did not list the parcel numbers, so nobody could find it. I did find it, that I could not find it in the paper, but that's all right. When I did find it, you've got things there that the state doesn't have. All of them are commercial already. None of them are listed as mixed use. I know the answer usually. You never ask a question and you don't know the answer. This has been said before. And it can be cleared up very easily. It looks like a paper exercise that you want to get back and get the state in line with Lynn Haven's rule, which is not in line with what Bay County has. So if that's the answer, I can suffice that. But to me, again, it looks like a paper exercise. Is that right? Is that Bay County's listing?
No, this is in Lynn Haven. It's not a paper exercise. The Bay County property appraiser has a different classification system. Yeah, they categorize things differently from the future land use map. Okay, so this is them actually wanting to change the land use. Not what I want to do, it's what the applicant is requesting, because there are things that can be done in commercial that can't be done in mixed use.
Okay, Lynn Haven has it listed as land use, mixed use.
Currently, it is mixed use, and the applicant is requesting that it be changed to commercial.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Additional commentary? All right, City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender? Yes. Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Motion passed. Public hearing closes at 6:49 p.m. Agenda item number 13, discussion and possible approval to award bid number 21/22-06 for ground storage tank repairs and painting to Onyx Blasting and Coating.
Good morning. Good afternoon. It's been a long day. The bid award before you is to repair 2 water ground storage tanks and 1 reclaimed water ground storage tanks, and then after those repairs are made, get them painted.
All right, any questions for Director of Utilities?
I just want to.
Your time's up.
You're out of time, Judy.
Okay. Sorry.
That's it, man.
Are these funds in your budget?
Yes, ma'am. We do have budget in the water and sewer for this. We're also going to purchase the paint for these tanks separately.
Okay.
So we'll take the tax savings.
Thank you.
All right, any other additional questions?
Move to approve.
Second. All right, motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Ward. Any questions from the public? Discussion? No discussion. City Manager, will you call the vote?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Agenda item number 14, discussion about new legislation that may affect local municipalities. We did have, I think, a good discussion about this on Friday, so I'm not going to repeat everything that discussed on Friday. Hopefully you did receive emails from the Florida League of Cities just updating us on those particular bills. One bill has actually been amended, and that was the immunity bill regarding how much we could actually be sued for. And so that's being amended. And so they're just asking that we would send an email to the committee regarding that bill and asking the supporting of that amendment so that our thresholds will not actually change because we're less than 50,000 in population. And also they've asked if we could send an email just sending support for the public smoking bill as well, which would allow us to designate certain areas as smoke-free zones in our various parks and public facilities. And so just wanted to remind us that yes, there are like 100+ bills that are out there in the session that are in fact municipalities, especially when we talk about home rule. And so, but I did scour through those and then talk with the Florida League of Cities during my Capitol Day just to see which bills could actually pertain to Lynn Haven and which ones we needed to contact our representatives, that being Jay Trumbull, Senator Gaynor, as well as anyone. You just don't have to stop at those 2 particular representatives. I mean, we can contact anyone that is a part of the Senate or the House. And so specifically those that are part of that committee, because if it doesn't get out of committee, then it won't, get to the other phases of the passing process. And so just want to encourage us as a commission to contact our representatives to let them know how we feel about the impact that this could have on our local municipality. And so just want to, just for us to keep an eye on these things this session. Session ends March the 11th, and so depending on how these bills flow will depend on whether or not they're passed this session. So just wanted to bring that to our attention as a way for us to communicate that. Meeting